People of the internet, welcome back to another video. It is I, Don Thomas, back in here with another one. As always, folks, the likes, the comments, the subscribes are all greatly appreciated. Thank you so much for the support on this channel. Without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into today's topic, folks. I know it's been a little while since I've uploaded. It's kind of by design. Like I typically say, man, there's some things I just don't really care to talk about. It's either I don't know what to talk about, or there's other things of equal or greater value that I'm giving my attention and my energy to. So it's been a little bit of that, but since my last upload, I think it was almost 2 weeks ago, and I typically don't like going that long without uploading, honestly, because there is a level of consistency that you got to maintain on YouTube. But at the same time, I do believe in quality over quantity. I think I've said that on this channel a lot before as well too. I don't just make videos just for the sake of making videos and speak on things just for the sake of speaking about them. I speak on things, of course, as I've always mentioned, I speak on things that I'm hoping will have some take-home value for you, the viewer. Meaning that once you hit play, you felt like you learned something, or you were inspired to do something, to take action, whether that be in your own life or, the life that you're leading with the people around you. That's the type of value I want to provide for anybody that watches these videos. All that to say, if I don't got nothing to say, then then I'm not gonna say it, but that's neither here nor there. Ultimately now, I guess the only main thing that I think is of value now, that's worth talking about. I've been seeing there's been a lot of things that's been happening since my last upload. I feel like it's been a few weeks, but the constant variable right now that I think is pretty consistent, and again, I think is of value to you, is this whole Trump situation, man. This whole presidency, I think, is pretty interesting. There's a lot of things going on, but like I mentioned a lot as well too, I don't typically talk politics. I'm not left nor right nor liberal nor conservative. Honestly, I don't even know what those even mean, to be completely honest. So I don't really do politics. I'm not the most knowledgeable person when it comes to what's happening in our political atmosphere, the political spectrum, left-leaning, right-leaning. I don't really even know what all of that even means. So I typically don't speak on politics, but from a surface level approach, of course, just speaking on the things that are just obvious, right? Pretty basic. Is that you got presidential elections coming up, which I typically speak on from time to time in regards to how that's going to affect us moving forward. Again, the elections that's coming up this year is gonna be unlike anyone that we've ever seen before. How? I think it's because of the advancement of just how things are kind of moving when it comes to the technology, the propaganda, the messages that are being spewed, whether they're all organic or whether they're all being socially engineered. There's a lot of things that are going to cause a lot of confusion for a lot of people. So I think the main takeaway from that is just being mindful of your sources, one, and educating yourself, man, and not being emotional with your decisions, but being logical. Meaning, don't think off of things necessarily that just feel good and that your heart is telling you. Use your brain as well too. Use some rationale. There's a level of thinking that you could use where you can critically assess what's actually being fed to you by the mainstream media. Again, like I said plenty of times before, the mainstream media is not your friend. Nonetheless, we got Trump, that's, in my opinion, growing in popularity. Was announced, of course, that he got convicted of all 34 counts, or however many counts, of course, for his bribery or whatever the case is, what he was doing, whatever. Trump is officially now a convicted felon. With that verdict, of course, you would assume that that would deter him from any prospects of being the next president of the United States, but funnily enough, that only seems to have ignited the flames. Trump, in my opinion, as I said it before in another video, he 110% will be the next president of the United States. There is no other way that's gonna go. Now, of course, people are saying, okay, there's Biden and then there's Trump. It's pick your poison between the two, which I completely understand. Neither of these people are, in my opinion, the worthy candidates that are gonna bring forth any type of change that is gonna be, valuable for the greater good of the common man, in my personal opinion. See, everything about this life is it's a story, man. You got to kind of just look back at just the last 4 years. Just take it from the pandemic, take it from 2020. A story has been unraveling here, and it's just it just makes sense for the next logical thing to do for it to be Trump. And Trump, of course, we know what comes with Trump, man. Trump, of course, has positioned himself as a vocal man who, ruffles the feathers, without any shame. He says things that are not always politically correct, and people on the low like that. If you think about it, man, people kind of like that. Trump right now, of course, has gained how much after when it was determined that he's officially been made a felon, of course, a convicted felon. The man gained 141. I think right now it's at 141. I think the last time I saw it was 44. I think current present day, he gained $141 million in donations. Think about it. $141 million in donations after he was convicted of being a felon. And you think that's the person that's not going to be your next president? People like Trump. And even if people don't like Trump, the narrative is that people will like Trump. The America that's being built right now, it's seasoned for Trump to be the man that stands at the helm, right? At the forefront, guiding that ship. The America that's being built. The culture right now is different. The culture right now, like I even said in the last video before as well too, when I was talking about Civil War, there's cliques, there's little populations, there's small demographics of people of all walks of life that are being emboldened, right? Is a word that we could use. They're being, more enthused to be able to voice their opinions and, back their claims, whether they be right or wrong, regardless of how you may or may not feel. So Trump is the ideal person to put in the position where you would feel empowered to speak as boldly as you want to speak or do things that you feel are right in your eyes, whatever the case is. And that can be good or bad, to be completely honest. The civilization that's growing right now, unfortunately, it calls for a Trump. And I think the powers that be see that, America sees that. That's why Trump will be your next president, regardless of any convictions. It only made him cooler in the eyes of a lot of people. Believe it or not, yeah, some people may be dismayed, like, oh, he's a convicted felon. I would never want a convicted felon as my president. I would never want. Unfortunately, folks, you got to pay attention to the climate of the world that's going on around us, man. As they say, read the room. If you read the room of our current civilization right now, Trump is the guy. He's the guy, 110%. So I'm basically saying prepare for that reality. All you should be worried about moving forward as an individual, right? So you ask yourself, hey, man, I too don't really care about politics, man. Hey, man, I don't care to vote. Or maybe you do care to vote. Hey, man, I'm voting for Biden. I'm voting for Trump. Regardless of who you're voting for, you should very much so just be focused on your own life as well. And ask yourself, like, with the circumstances that are happening around me, where do I fit in the grand scheme of things? If Trump becomes president, if he doesn't, if, whatever the case is, like, regardless of, like, all things considered of what's happening in the world, you must, as the individual, ask yourself, like, all right, where do I fit in the grand scheme of things? Now, a lot of you might think, like, oh, I'm not anything, I'm just a little, little old me, little old civilian, but under that mentality, man, I would argue and say that that's sheep-like mentality, man, and you don't necessarily want to be a sheep in this new world. It's not safe for you to be a sheep. You can feel like, oh, I'm just a regular old civilian, but under that notion, man, you're more likely to just be spoon-fed whatever they tell you, man, and that's not an approach you're going to want to take moving forward, in my personal opinion. It matters, man. If everybody held themselves to a certain esteem where it's just like, nah, man, I do matter. My thoughts do matter. My feelings do matter. That would show off in the other areas of your life, I feel like 100%. So ultimately, folks, my mindset, I think a lot of people are sometimes curious because I come on here and I say these things and then, that may or may not make you question like, all right, well, what's your approach, bro? Like, how are you maneuvering through these waters? So I always want to make sure I'm being, transparent with at least how I'm navigating, and maybe that can, help you or, sway you one way or the other to take those same actions as well too, if you feel inclined to do so. So me personally, man, how I'm kind of looking at it right now, I actually tweeted this the other day, man. Like, honest to God, how I kind of see the world moving right now, bro. It's literally the Hunger Games. I'm assuming my audience is familiar with the Hunger Games movie. Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. But the Hunger Games, of course, is a movie. It's from a series of books as well, too, whereas basically it paints the world of a society that's ran by the elites or is made, I guess the overall theme is a game to the death for a chance to be in the upper class, for a chance to be a resident of the capital, for a chance to, be fed all the things that society deems cool or worthy or, fulfilling, is what that word, is what that basically that movie is about. And it's about, it speaks on a lot of different things. Classism, it speaks about struggle, it speaks about disparity between, everyday individuals and then the extremely rich and the extremely poor, honestly. It touches on a lot of things that I feel like translate into our current day world as well. I tweeted the other day that we are living in the modern day Hunger Games, whereas the environment, so of course the Hunger Games is like, it's a game, it's a battle of some sorts, where people are fighting, where there's, individuals fighting amongst themselves in an arena that even comes with its own obstacles. And I feel like that's our current world right now. So it's just like, the environment is coming with its own obstacles, and the people are presenting obstacles as well too. So again, going back to your politicians and, your people in power with a little bit of influence, whatever the case is, like, those opponents are getting more and more ruthless. the guy at your job or the guy, at your local whatever, grocery store, whatever the case is. Like, people are becoming more and more ruthless from where I'm sitting. And it seems as if like we are slowly but surely adapting a mindset of like every man for himself. And I said this in another video as well too some time ago, man. Like we don't want to embrace that mindset. We really want to, man, I'm trying to tell you, we really want to embrace a mindset for us to stand a chance moving forward, for you to feel like you've won or come out somewhat victorious through this whole circumstance, our current reality. It's going to be best that we put our differences aside and kind of, work together with seeing at least that we can not kill each other off of things that we shouldn't even be arguing about in the first place, if that makes sense. So yeah, that's how I'm kind of maneuvering, bro. Like right now I'm maneuvering in a sense of like, all right, cool. There is a level of me that's like, all right, well, let me make sure I'm straight. Like, let me make sure I'm aware, because it's really not about a matter of being smart. I was thinking about this the other day. It's not about being smart. It's about being aware. It's one thing to be smart. It's another thing to be aware. You see what I'm saying? It's just increase your level of awareness. Like, you just got to be aware of what's going on, man. Like, be aware of what's going on in this world, bro, because like you can't just be going with the flow out here. Gone are the days where you can just be la la la. Like you can't just, you really got to be aware of your environment, of your personal environment, and then the world that's being built around you.